Welcome, race fans, to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with Cam K and GRAYDON BUNN. True Canadian race fans. This show is presented by Remax Jack. Call Remax Jack and start to pack. Green flag is out. Let's get this podcast underway.
Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, and we are welcoming back Shantel, Kalika, who's joining us all the way from her workplace, right?
Yeah.
And let's just remind, how far is this connection right now? Where are you?
I'm in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, which is about 3,300 kilometers from you guys.
Woo!
Yeah.
and you made the travel all the way.
And a 2-hour time difference. So I'm at work and you guys are at home.
Yeah. So we were lucky enough to have Shantel at the racetrack at Sunset Speedway. Shantel, it was your very first time at Sunset. So gotta ask, what did you think about the track?
You know what? I really liked it, actually. I have raced Saskatoon, Edmonton, and then also at Jukasa. So this kind of was a fit in between Saskatoon and Edmonton. Didn't really know exactly what to kind of expect, but watched some video and highlights and stuff like that before going. But I mean, you can watch as much as you want, but until you're actually there and actually on the track, it's a completely different thing. So yeah, no, as far as like the experience and stuff, really, really liked it. I've never actually had it where I've accessed the track from the back stretch, come around and then looped off, and also never had it where we've practiced and the team and the crew and stuff like that are on the outside and we're on the inside. So just a few different things, and I mean, it's really exciting to see how different facilities work and stuff like that.
We'll get back to our episode with Shantel, Kalika on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast in just a quick minute, but we wanted to tell you about the housing market. Well, you know what, GRAYDON? The housing market is still on fire. It is hot, 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 hot. If you are waiting for that cool down, our man Remax Jack says it doesn't look like that's going to happen. What he's got to say, you've got to buy right now. Don't wait. The condo market is not as competitive as the household markets.
Call our man Remax Jack. He knows where the deals are, and he knows how to get you the most money for you when you sell your home. When you get the green flag to buy or sell, Remax Jack will get you the checkered flag with fuel in your tank and rubber to spare.
Call Remax Jack and start to pack. It was. I mean, Shantel, one of the things that we wanted to be able to experience this year was having a logo on a car, because that what it does is it gives you kind of a bit of an, even though we're not sponsoring per se, it gave an experience that I don't think any of us have ever understood before. Obviously, as a driver, you're out there, you're representing the sponsor, so you know what that's like. But to have a logo on the car, you know, what we wanted to tell people is the experience is completely different, even if you're not investing the money in. Typically when I watch a race, I don't really go for one or two people, but you and Larry, it was like every lap we were like, yeah, you know. That's why we couldn't talk. Pass, we were standing up screaming and hollering, and the people beside us thought we were crazy. But that's
they probably hated us by the end of the night.
I think you know what, I hear that a lot too. Actually, like I have friends that come and watch, or coworkers that come and watch, and that kind of stuff. And a lot of them say the same thing, where it's like, you know what, I would never watch racing on TV. I would never go to an event ever. But actually having somebody and having some kind of connection makes you kind of go a little bit closer and cheer harder and that kind of thing, and follow along better. And who knows, maybe sometimes too, those people that come to the track, or those people that invest and you know, get onto the car and sponsor and that kind of thing, they become lifelong fans, right? And so it's definitely a huge way to be able to grow the sport, and then get awareness out there of everything and every company and that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I'm super happy that we were able to have that on for you guys. And I think you guys had a lot of firsts. You even had a shout out on TSN and stuff like that. So the whole weekend was just mind blowing, which was awesome.
Well,
oh my God.
It was the fact that it started essentially with the fact that you were actually going to be at the race, because we were kind of like, you know, we were hoping, and then it just kind of, you know, what happened that you were able to get out to the track. It's a long track, so can we just kind of go through kind of the procedure for
what it took
to get to Sunset, and to get all that way and the weather being the way it was.
Yeah. Well, so when we were looking at I guess I got the call the Saturday before the race. So we raced on the Sunday. The Saturday prior to that, I got the call that Sunday, looking at flights and what our options are and that kind of stuff. With COVID, it put another element into prices of things, right? So getting car rentals and stuff like that. So that was a little bit tricky. But for us, we ended up flying out on Saturday. We were supposed to get to Toronto actually at 3 p.m. And we woke up Saskatchewan time, so 2 hour time difference than Ontario. Woke up at 3 a.m., left home, got to the airport in Saskatoon because we're an hour and a half away from the closest airport. We then flew to Calgary. We ended up having 4 hours worth of delays, and just ended up so we ended up not getting to to Ontario and getting our car rental until like 7 o'clock at night.
Oh my God.
Toronto to where the shop was about a 2 hour drive. So we didn't get to the shop until I think it was like 9:15.
Oh God.
Got the car fitted, so the seat prepped and then that kind of thing. I couldn't reach the pedals. I went to put full throttle on the gas and my foot fell off because I couldn't reach. So I'm happy that we went to the shop, obviously, but we didn't leave there till I think it was like 11:30, and then finally got to our hotel in Barrie at 2:30 in the morning. Went to bed at like 3 o'clock and ended up getting up at 6:30 and going to the track. So
oh my God.
huge like whirlwind of like getting places and like, yeah. And I think that's always the thing. Any racer that you will ever ask, it's always everything is last minute and everything is late nights and early mornings. No matter what we do in the off season or how prepared you think you are, there's always the late nights and the early mornings and something still is up at the track.
Well, the fact that you were out in the garage at 10, when I got there at 10:45 and I could not tell you didn't even have a coffee in your hand. So that's remarkable. Obviously, when you're going to go out for practice, your adrenaline starts pumping. You get excited to go, right? So you don't even feel how
you don't, you don't notice how tired you are and stuff like that.
But you had actually mentioned to me about how the car was in practice, and you guys actually had a bit of a struggle, and yet rebounded in the race. So the crew obviously put in a ton of work. But did you? I believe the problem was throttle sticking. Does that stay in your mind when you start the race? Like, did we get it fixed?
Well, yeah, like, so, I mean, for us, like, I like, this is obviously for some of the viewers, maybe they didn't watch the race or whatever, but, I mean, you're going in, for myself, you don't know the track, you don't know the car, you don't know what the setup is that they have in it. You have that conversation with the crew chief ahead of time to kind of explain, this is my driving style and that kind of stuff. But I mean, you still don't know what to expect. So with Sunset, we ended up having a 30-minute practice, and that was it. And that's not that much time, but when you can only have 10 cars on the track at a time, and I think you were limited to 10 laps, I believe it was. Okay. And so anyways, I didn't have a clue. Our radios weren't working. So I could hear my spotter, but I couldn't hear the crew chief. They couldn't hear me, so I couldn't talk back to them. So we had all that going on, but it was like, you know what, we just need to get out on the track and we need to get some times. And initially when I got in the car, I was like, it seems to be revving really high, but maybe that's just how they set it. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's get out on the track, shake some things down and actually just see what it's like. And then, the throttle was sticking, which at a small track, you don't know really kind of what to expect and where your braking points and stuff like that are. So you're trying to figure everything out. A new car again, too. You're trying to make sure that your gauges are all correct. You got your oil pressure, you got your temperatures correct and stuff like that. So there was so much that was going on. And we came in, they worked on it. They thought they got it fixed. We went back out. We didn't. Again, at that point, we still have no radios. So my spotter is up top. We're waiting to go out again. And you couldn't tell until you actually got past it. It didn't stick until I got to about 3,500 RPM. So when you're in the pits, you don't notice that, right?
Yeah.
So then when I would go out, got back out on the track, and it was funny because my spotter was my dad. And he comes on the radio and he goes, "You're just really high in 1 and 2. Like, I need you to get down in the middle of the corner." And all I'm thinking is, I'm revving at 5,000 RPM. I'm just bracing myself to get around this corner, and I'm doing all I can do. But yes, I got you. So again, in essence of, not wasting any try to waste any time, and you only get your 10 laps and then you got such a limited time for practice. I wanted to try to be out on the track as much as I could to get a feel for it. And so I actually was going into the corner, braking, pulling up on the throttle, rolling through the corner, and then getting back on the throttle. So just adjustments that you have to make as a driver in order to kind of get that done. At no point did I ever think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go into the wall. I mean, obviously I'm still going to be safety first, but it's still trying to keep your mind around it and then worry about other people that are around you and all that kind of stuff. So we ended up, it's after practice, you go qualifying. So the guys worked on it again. They thought they got it fixed, and all you're doing is just praying that it's fixed, because all you have is your 2 laps of qualifying to see, did they actually get it fixed? So we had no clue from a setup standpoint. We were just trying to get the radios fixed up, the throttle sticking, that kind of stuff, and then do a little possible adjustments to the car to be able to get it set up. So you go out for qualifying and you really have no clue what you have. And that showed with our qualifying time. I mean, obviously we would have loved to have done better. But at that point you take what you can. And that's where we had the goal going into the race of, we're going to use that first 125 to know what we've got and figure out what we've got setup wise and need to get comfortable. And as everybody knows, when you have a back-to-back 125 like that, you have to preserve the car. And as we saw, there are some people that can't make it to the next race. So, picking away and taking what we can was of essence in protecting the car.
Yeah, you touched on there. That was an amazing recount of your day in such a.
Sorry, I'm long-winded.
No, but it was amazing. Like you said, you had your share of overcoming adverse things during the day, like the mechanical issues, the radio issues, but having the veteran mindset that you do have. I mean, you could have just went in there with pressure to perform and just overcooked it into a corner and wadded the car up into a corner, but knowing that just the seat of the pants feel doesn't quite feel right, and then just surviving not one, but like the first race, like you said, trying to survive and move on to the second race. Not everybody had that mentality by the look of it in the first race, but you survived not one, but 2 chaotic races and came away with it with a career best finish. So, I mean, you talk about in one day, which was a very, very long day and was almost basically 2 or 3 by the time you got back home, long days. Man, you had a real roller coaster of events.
It's a lot for sure. But I mean, like you say, I don't think that everybody maybe has that mindset. And the world is made up of different people, which is great. And for myself, I like to be able to have a smart head like that. I'm not saying that I don't want to go out there. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to do good, all that kind of stuff. And for sure I do too. I've won championships at my local track and stuff like that. I'll be aggressive. I'll make the moves when I need to, And
you did.
Yeah. And that's kind of, that's the type of racer that I've become. And I pride myself a lot as well on having the respect of the racers. And that was a lot of the stuff that was talked to me after the race, was, different people coming up to me and how I gain respect from the leaders and how, I still race hard, but at the time of, I'm not going to ruin their night or get in their way, but I'm also going to fight for my positions. I'm going to take what's mine. I'm not going to roll over. I'm never going to be that person. But at the end of the day, I also have to have a smart head. We don't have a spare car out here. So a lot of the drivers that are out east, a lot of the highly funded race cars, they have those spare cars. They have the extras that are available. We don't have that. So I've got one car here at home. And so I've had to have that mentality of, being a smart racer, but actually a good racer too. And I think that's where I've come and gotten so good over the years to be able to get to this point. So I think it just speaks to character as well as the type of racer that you are too.
That's right. And you mentioned your dad also being in your ear.
Yeah.
He's definitely a motivator. He has to be a cheerleader. Does he talk you down off a ledge sometimes, or does he fire you up and tell you, hey, go get after that? Or I guess to be a bit of both on a case-by-case basis, right?
Yeah, I've had a couple spotters over the years, and I mean, I'm nothing against different spotters. I think that there's a different level though when it is your dad.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to tell me something and push me, I'm going to do it, or vice versa. I can have that maybe where I give him shit. And, you kind of, you get over it quicker or whatever. Right. Or you can be a little bit more aggressive in what you need. Yeah. And he spots for me when I'm at home. And so having him come to this race was a huge confidence factor, right?
Nice.
Where if he says you're clear, I know I'm clear just like that. And I'm not double checking a mirror or anything like that. And you don't have time to do that. So there was a huge confidence factor that came with him coming. And yeah, he definitely is a huge push for me. When you get into some of those long runs and you've got no pressure from behind, but you're also trying to reach up to get up to the guy in front of you. I mean, you need somebody in your ear saying, don't roll over. Okay. I need you to keep digging here. I need you to go get them. And he is that. Like, he is an amazing spotter. And I'm super lucky to have him come on all of these crazy adventures with me, for sure.
So cool.
Yeah, this one of the things that we had talked about while we did our post race and while we were at the races was the competition level was one of the best I have ever seen. And we've been watching, Pinty's, I've been watching since 2003, and there was a huge drop off for many years where cars were just not, there would be cars that would be multiple laps down. This was not the case at Sunset Speedway. And it could have been because of course, the race distance was shorter, but on the lead lap for both races, one spot away from a top 10 finish, almost that last corner spin. If somebody just kind of moved a different way, it would have been different. But did you find that making your way through the field was it your chore to do, or did you just kind of let everybody else take each other out? Because it kind of seemed like a methodical approach from you. You kind of battled with people at the back of the field, got your way up, made it up to I believe at one of the restarts, you were in the top 10. And, but did you kind of let that chaos take over because you could see it coming?
I referred back to it too multiple times. The field was a stout field on Saturday when we raced in Sunset. I mean, there was so many big names. And you know what? There's always the same thing with the first race of the year. Everybody is ready to go give her, and maybe not the clearest heads, and we all got something to prove. And again, I think that goes back to myself. I am a cautious racer, but I am also a good racer, and I think that I'm a good racer. And I'm never gonna, if a spot opens up, I'm gonna get in there, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to get in there. But at the end of the day, I'm also not gonna spin. I'm gonna try my best to make smart moves, and I'm gonna take what I can. But I'm also not going to. I'd rather take 2 laps to pass somebody than just bonsai it in there, and that's just the type of racer that I am. That's not to say I ain't going to hit you in the butt. I mean, I hit into the 61 and got him loose there a couple times and busted up his bumper a little bit. So I went up to him and I said, hey, I got into you there. But, at that point, if I've got the position or I'm there kind of thing, those are the types of things that happen. And I'm not going to apologize for that kind of stuff. But, if I maybe got on it a little bit too hot, maybe that is me. But, I think for myself, it is one of those things where I'm not going to go and try to race the leaders and wreck their night. If they're battling, I'm going to let them battle. But at the end of the day, too, if I can fight to stay on the lead and get the lucky dog, then I'm going to. And that was a lot of the part of what happened in that Sunset race. You constantly knew who you were battling and where you needed to be. And that's how you make smart moves. And that's how you can make it through these races and survive.
You're watching,
and it's not always just about how fast you can go. It is about the whole package. Can you make the moves? Can you miss the accidents? Can you survive with your equipment? Can you make the smart choices in order to be there at the end? And that I think a lot of people forget about that, to be truthfully honest with you. And I think that racing has gone the opposite way from that being the case. We're all we're all athletes, but at the end of the day, if you just go and you punter into the wall, then you're not there either. So then what do you have going on for you?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Like I said, your veteran mindset where like, and perhaps like your small team mindset where you don't have a fleet of cars to fall back on if you do wad it up. So you maybe like make
or the
more
funding to be able to go and just buy all the parts, and it's
That's
okay.
right.
I'll just pay money and fix it. It's not a big deal. I've worked on the cars. All the work that we do to our local cars and stuff is all on my dad and I. So I'm there putting that blood, sweat, and tears in there. And I think then that gives you another sense of I guess ownership when you're actually behind the wheel too, right?
Yeah.
That you're not
You
just
have a vested interest in every level of the car.
Yeah. And I believe, honestly, you guys, I mean, I believe that is part of the reason why I got the call from Jim Bray. I mean, Jim obviously has a lot of background in racing and a lot that comes with him, and he's very well known. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, part of the reason why I was chosen was because of the factor that he knows that I'm that kind of racer. And I mean, to make it through 250 laps with just a couple donuts on the car and that's it. I mean, okay, you put
one
some brake
really
brakes on it.
well-placed one. Yes.
I mean, you probably did that on purpose, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
We want to spotlight. And what's funny is that I think Larry had one right
really?
Right around
similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just said we got to get these for the boys.
Now we
Lucky
just get
donuts.
the sides. We just get the sides of the car now. Then we've got something to put on. Shantel, obviously the Pinty Series is continuing this weekend at Trois Rivières. Your schedule for the rest of this year, are you going to be racing out of Saskatchewan? Are you going to go to Edmonton? I think you said your track was it your track that was closed?
No, we're open. We're open. We did an event there actually in June. We have another one planned for August, as well as September. So we'll do a couple more locally.
Cool.
That being said, I'm definitely open to options and stuff like that. I mean, if something was to come up with the Pinty Series, then I'm definitely going to work to make that happen, and have that go on. I truly believe that, like, any seat time that you can get in the series is good seat time. It's only going to make me a better driver. And that hopefully I can learn too, from the day events as well as the tracks and how to become a better driver and all that kind of stuff. Especially these cars, like, they're not just like the cars that we have at home. The horsepower is different, the tires, everything like that. So from a handling aspect and just learning, you can do that only from the car. I don't have a simulator at my house. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. So my practice is in the car, and most times it's from the races. That was another thing that I always learned. And I think, it always helped me become a better racer around people as well, is we never rented the track and just had me out there. My practice was on race days. And that was, I remember starting my racing career. My dad told me I had to start at the back. And that I would work my way up, and that's how I would gain respect, and that's how I would learn to drive around other people, and actually race with other people. And so I didn't become the person that could just, do a good fast lap and not be able to race. And so I think that that's just all melded me into the type of racer that I am today. But yeah, so any seat time is good seat time, and I definitely wouldn't pass up an opportunity if it showed up.
Well, that you've got huge supporters here with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Obviously, the BUNN Sons are two of your biggest supporters. We are as well. We want to get, as we've talked about, more women in motorsports. A full-time female on the grid would be awesome. I think the amount of young girls that are at the racetrack actually surprises me. As somebody who grew up going to the races, it just wasn't a thing for many years. Now it is. So there's plenty of companies out there I know that would be perfect fits for Shantel. So obviously, especially
a driver that'll bring the car home in one piece. So,
exactly. And
I've wrecked my fair share of race cars, but
No.
Yeah, I guess
but I mean,
you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. But
there you go.
Your racing resume speaks for itself. I mean, you're a smart racer. You're a championship caliber driver. You're not afraid to get in there and get your hands dirty, work on the cars. And I mean, that just brings a little more appreciation to you when you're behind the wheel. And I think that all translates into, like you said, racing around your NASCAR Pinty's peers and your peers at home and earning that respect. So again, on behalf of the boys and myself, thanks for jumping back on with us
always
at the office too.
Yeah, I'm glad that I could join you guys, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing and trying to grow the series and get awareness and highlight the drivers and different companies and all that kind of stuff. So a huge shout out to you guys as well for doing that for us too.
Thank you.
Not getting choked up here. No, we're going to be professional. We want to see Shantel, Kalika back on the track in the NASCAR Pinty Series this season. If not, maybe full-time in 2022. There's options out there, guys. So, if you have a company that is willing to sponsor, definitely reach out to Busch Racing on social media. You can also contact us, and we will get you in touch with Shantel if you want to take that course of action. But we want to thank Shantel, Kalika for coming on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with us. Once again, we will catch you all real soon.